Well, good evening, everybody. So tonight we've got another golf cart battery to take a look at. The Novaic 51.2 volt lithium iron phosphate battery. So let's get started. So I get asked all the time to take a look at this golf cart battery and that golf cart battery. It's like you do one and you get inundated with requests. And so I want to look at batteries that have something different to offer. I mean, you can look at only so many golf cart batteries that all look the same, that all feature the same options and stuff. And so when I saw the specs of this one, it caught my attention. So with this one, there were, I think, 3 things that stood out to me that were unique compared to other golf cart batteries that I've looked at before. It utilizes relays instead of relying on the BMS for turning on and turning off. 2, it actually has Class T fuses built inside. And then the third one was the battery charger itself actually has communications with the battery. So it actually charges smartly instead of just charging up based on voltage. So this battery is a lithium iron phosphate battery. It has 105 amp hour cells inside, giving you about 5,300 watt hours of total energy that can be stored in this battery. This model is designed with a 250 amp continuous discharge. I believe it can do 500 amps for up to 30 seconds. And then I think it says that it's supposed to be able to do 1,000 amps for 1 second. I don't know what kind of golf cart is pulling that kind of power, but that's just crazy. And unfortunately, I really don't have a way to test 1,000 amp discharge. It would be pretty sweet to be able to do that though. Working temperatures in this are -4 degrees Fahrenheit up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. This does have built-in high temp and low temp protection. The cells inside, I believe, are supposed to be EVE cells. Again, 105 amp hour capacity, rated for 4,000 cycles, down to 80% depth of discharge. And this does come with a 10-year warranty. The dimensions on this battery, you're looking at 23 from edge to edge. It is about 23 5/8 once you start dealing with the caps on the outside edge. Depth, you're looking at 13 inches, and your height, including the handles, you're at about 10¼ inches. And then this bad boy weighs in at around 110 pounds. So if we look at the front, it has the Novaic Power logo with the Novaic Power website. Looking up here on top, we've got 2 heavy-duty spring-loaded handles. A warning up here saying that the battery must be turned off if it's going to be left alone for 5 days or longer. That's just to keep your pack from draining. This does say 8 years on the battery, but the website says 10 years. So I'm going to go with what the website says because that's a bigger number. So it says 10-year warranty, even though this says 8. I think this is supposed to say model. It says mode GR-48105. Nominal capacity 105 amp hours. Nominal voltage 51.2 volts. Total energy 5,376 watt hours. And then again, we've got our working temperatures, our weight, and our size. And a few warnings here on the front. If we look on the right hand side of the battery, there's nothing there other than these heavy duty mounting brackets to mount to the chassis of your cart. If we look at the left hand side, we've got our positive and negative connections, which do have these caps on them, and then multiple communication ports with water and dust covers for our charger, our screen, and our switch to turn the BMS on and off. Then the only thing on the back looks to be a serial number sticker. So everything that you see is a part of the Novaic GR Plus kit. They do have a standard kit, but everything here comes with the Plus kit. If we take a look at all the other goodies that came in the kit, we do have the user manual, our screen encased in quite a beefy mount here, on-off button, and then our communication connections. Looks like they do make them different so that you can't plug them into the wrong port, which is nice. The Plus kit does come with this charger pass-through port, which allows you to mount this to your cart, and then you can plug your charger into this side, and then you can just plug an extension cord in here when you need to charge your kit. You can actually install your charger directly in your cart. This is the first time that I have had a conversion kit come with one of these. I know there's companies out there that do that, and I think it's a nice touch, because anything that you can do so that you don't have to go out and buy extra parts is just a nice little touch. This one comes with, and I'm not going to pull it out of this bag, but it's a DC to DC converter, so it'll go from 48 volts down to 12 volts at 20 amps power, so you can power your accessories. Then we've got our, I think 18, or is it a 20 amp charger, outdoor rated. So this one comes with a charge, just a charge indicator. And then, it, like I was mentioning earlier, it has, I believe it's a CAN communication going to this charger from the battery. And then they give you a quick disconnect, which I like this. I think this is another nice touch. You know, if you ever need to pull the battery out, you don't have to pull up the charger too and take everything apart. You just disconnect one Anderson connector and you're good to go. Let's take a look at this screen real fast. So it's labeled screen and switch. So we'll pop the dust cover. There's a little red dot on the end of each connector. That needs to line up with the red dot on the battery. So we'll grab our switch connector, find a little red dot, line them up, and just push in, and it locks in. It's probably one of the nicest connectors that I've seen for this stuff too, because they're nice metal connectors. So for the screen, line up the red dots and push, and it locks in. Very nice. We're not going to connect the charger right now, so we'll just close that. And then to turn the battery on, we'll press the power button. And it doesn't want to stay on. Maybe. Okay, so I had to press and hold the button until I heard the clicks on the inside. Just pressing and releasing seems to turn the display on, but it doesn't actually engage the contactor on the inside. That's good to know. And I did forget to mention this battery also has built-in heaters, it looks like, as well. So we're at 31%, 52.7 volts. I believe our clock is correct. Yes, date's correct. This is a very sensitive touchscreen. So battery, it's kind of funky that it has the little arrow on there. Voltage. Okay, so that's got to be cell level. We've got multiple temperature sensors, one cycle. And we have our cell voltages. They all say 3.29 volts. I don't know why it's changing here so much for the location. It's probably because they're all the same. I imagine if it went to, 3 digits past the decimal, we'd have a little more information, which would kind of be nice. Not really necessary, but it would be a nice add. And let's see here. So we can set the language, set our date and time, and then see our alarm history. So, I guess it is nice that you can see the little cursor to know exactly where you're clicking. But a different display, a lot different than the ones that we're used to seeing, but kind of nice. I kind of like it. Oh, there's a temperature option. Cell temps. Oh, okay, so 4 temperature sensors in here. That's good to know too. So very nice. All right, let's turn this off. Press and hold. So that's good to know though. Press and hold to turn on, you'll hear the clicks. Press and hold to turn off, you'll hear the clicks as well. And this is kind of different from some of the other batteries because some of the other batteries have the on-off button on the side of the case, whereas this one has it on the display. Let's take a look and see what's under the hood. I want to see how they did the relay or the contactor and then the Class T fuses. And let's take a look. Ooh, very nice. So right off the bat, we have 2 shrouds protecting the cells. The cells look like they are modules. So you'll have a set of 8 and then a set of 8. We've got flexible bus bars between our main connections. Down here it looks like we have a shunt for calculation. There's our 500 amp Class T fuse and then our contactor right there. Let's get a closer look. So there's our negative connection. It does go through the shunt. And up here, here's our main negative connection. Everything is beautifully bundled in here. We have cable wrap, we have zip ties. Everything is labeled. Every little wire. We've got quick disconnect connections. Actually, it looks like there's another relay down underneath. Torque check marks on every connection. The only thing that I don't see on these is any of that silicone to help keep these screws from backing out. But from what I remember reading with that UL 2271, it says that it's been certified with 2,000 plus vibration tests. I think they might actually have their own BMS in here too. So let's see, there's our Class T fuse. And you can see what I mean with the modules and how everything is separated. I'm going to have to pull these little caps so that I can pop the top here. So this white wire goes to the heating pad on the outside of this module. There's also one over here on this side. They got torque marks on everything, which is good. I mean, it just shows attention to detail when every connection point is checked and double checked. Let's see if we can just peel this back. Ooh, it's all sticky. All right, so we've got, see down here we've got the silicone on each balance lead so that that doesn't come undone. We've got one temperature sensor here, one temperature sensor here, and this is where I love to see the temperature sensors on the bus bars because that's where you're gonna really notice the heat buildup first instead of, on this insulated cover. Laser welded cells, we do have an expansion and contraction hump in between each cell on the bus bars, just in case. Everything is fixed, but just in case there is that hump on all these. And then we come down over here and we have our flexible bus bar that's a jumper between pack 1 and pack 2. There we go. Takes a little while to get some of these because they're so tight down in there. But we've got Eve, manufacturer, lithium iron phosphate, 105 amp hour cells, production date, June 19th, 2025. But overall, the build quality is extremely nice. I do love the flexible bus bars in here, and the fact that these are near module-based packs. So it looks like you should be able to remove and replace an entire module if you had to. I would love to see what's underneath this plate. Oh, that orange that we see down in that hole down there looks like a pre-charge resistor. Actually, I forgot. I have this. I think I got this for, I don't know, Father's Day maybe? Say hi to the camera. So there is a 100 watt, 25 ohm resistor. Oh, there's another fuse in there. Another relay. So I would imagine one has to be for, I don't know, charging, allowing charging to bypass the contactor so that you can still charge but not discharge. But I don't know what the other one would be for. So is it a BIU 5116BD? Project name 16S51.2V105AH. So yeah, looks like at least the shell of the BMS is branded Novaic as well. Very cool. I had forgotten I had this. Very useful tool for looking down in tight spaces. So I was able to get my hands on some pictures of the actual BMS inside the case. So I'll throw those up on screen if that's something you want to take a look at. I had started to put this whole thing back together and I realized I should probably do the high and low temperature protection tests before I get it all bundled up. So I popped the cover back off. I loosened up our T1 sensor here. I've got my charger over here on the side of the battery. We do need to take, this is the communication line for the battery. And actually, I'll show you that you have to have this connected first. So I added this line to the terminals, added the terminal covers back on. This is hard to do one-handed. Got that all connected. So I won't plug this in, and then we'll just plug our charging power supply in. So it just starts blinking over here. It's not actually turning the charger on. The display is turned off. I didn't turn it on yet, but it won't actually start sending power until this communication cable is connected. So just keep that in mind. I mean, once you put this in your cart, you're going to leave it in there, so it's not really that big of an issue. So we will plug this in. And as soon as I did that, there was clicking going on over here. The fan turned on the charger, and we've got a blinking red light signifying it's less than 80% state of charge. And our display automatically turned on. We can see we've got 17.1 amps coming into the battery right now. So I'm going to take my can of compressed air, on this temperature sensor. Let's see if we can get the heaters to turn on this battery. Because remember, there's built-in heaters on this thing. So let's see what happens. And there we go. You see the little icon that showed up right here signifying heat, high charge temperature difference. And then it just ended up resetting itself. And it turned off. Low charge temp. So the heater's kicked on for a second, but then the whole system turned off. And everything just ended up resetting. Maybe I just made it too cold, which I guess is entirely possible, because I did spray that for quite a bit. So let's try it again, just a quick blast. All right, it switched. We see the little heater icon showing up. And then the heater just turned off. All right, so yeah, apparently I just got it too cold. And now we're back up to 17 amps going into the battery. So some of those relays that we hear inside have to divert power from the charger going into the heater to heat everything up. Now I have to find my heat gun. Turn this thing on. So up, 104. Oh, and it just clicked. High temperature charge difference. So apparently there's 3 levels. There's like a initial warning level, a secondary, and then once it hits the 3rd level, that's when it actually disconnects. And I think the manual actually goes through and breaks down all the different levels. Yeah, they call them Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. Once that cools back down, let's see where we at. 107. And then we've got all our clicks, and everything starts charging again. Current ramps up. And now we're back to just a Class 1 warning until everything levels back out, and then that will go away. So good to see. Low temp works. Super duper low temp works. Low temp where the heater kicks in works. And then the high temp disconnect also works. I just grabbed this camera real fast because I just noticed something as this was charging. So you can see right here where it says miles, and I hope that it's actually showing up. I don't know if my camera's fuzzing out this text on the display or not, but right here where it says miles, it's actually approximating how many miles you can go on your current state of charge. That's kind of neat to see. I don't know that I've seen that on any other battery before. So I did end up hooking up this battery to my 6000 XP, which then output into my chargeverter and dumped power into my main house battery bank. And after running for approximately 5 hours, we did get the rated output capacity of 105 amp hours. So I started a high capacity discharge test. I don't have the ability to do 250 amps, but my chargeverter can do 100. And so this is actually saying it's pulling 120 amps out of the battery at the moment. You see it says 46 miles to go. So it should be done in about 40-ish minutes. So we'll see how she does. High temp right now, 80 degrees. It's temperature sensor number 4. So our smart shunt shows 124 amps coming out of the battery. I didn't have my state of charge set properly, so obviously it's not correct. We've got 11% shown on the battery at the moment. And it says 125 amps. So yeah, it's about accurate between the two, the smart shunt and the battery shunt. Always good to see. Batteries. Cables are kind of getting warm. Definitely not the right size cable if you're looking to run 200 amps out of a battery. Case itself doesn't feel warm. All the cells are just above 3 volts. Max temp 111 degrees. Down to 1%. Current's up to 133. We hit our 105 amp hours. And there we go. So to wrap things up, I really ended up being kind of surprised when I looked at this battery here. Novaic ended up taking a lot of different components from a lot of different style batteries and putting them into a single golf cart battery that really seems to be everything that you would need in a cart battery conversion kit. The build quality looks to be meticulously done. I mean, almost to where it's like automotive grade. It just looks almost modular. And you really don't see that in most golf cart batteries. I do like to see all the little extras that they added into this. I mean, every battery has a bunch of cells in a BMS, right? But they kind of took this to the next level. They added in contactors instead of relying solely on the BMS. They've added the EV class fuses. They added the pre-charge resistor, which you really don't see in a golf cart battery. And they wrapped everything in heaters so that you can maintain your battery in cold temperatures. And looking back at the discharge tests that we did, both of them performed well. That first one, I was kind of wondering because it hit that 105 amp hours. It hit what it was rated for, but I was expecting more. And then when I did that high current discharge test, boy, we really hit 109 amp hours or 110 amp hours on that high current discharge test. And that, I mean, high current, yes, it's higher than what the cells are rated for, but not what the BMS is rated for. And even during that high current test, I was kind of surprised that it stayed as cool as it did. I was kind of expecting it to really start to warm up. But I think it might be part of that modular design. It almost looks like the mounts that they used to make the 2 rows of cells in the battery. It almost looks like those were kind of like a heat sink. So maybe those help dissipate some heat so that it could stay cooler even during that high current discharge. So a couple things that I think could be improved on this battery are, one, the cells only balance while this battery is charging. Now, I did talk to Novaic about this, and they did say that they are working on tweaking their charging algorithm so that they can throttle that current down the closer it gets to 100% state of charge, which will allow for longer time for your cells to balance. Because right now, as soon as one cell hits that 3.65 volts, it stops charging, which then means that it stops balancing your pack. So over time, you could have less and less of a balanced pack. But during our tests, we did see that, we still got over and above our rated capacity. And then the other thing that I would recommend changing is they talk about this being a 250 amp continuous discharge battery. Now the cells in this pack are only 105 amp hours, and typically cells are rated for a maximum of 1C. Now you can surge up to 250 amps, and even in their documentation they talk about surging up to 500 amps for a short period of time, even 1,000 amps for a short period of time. Those surge values are fine for short bursts, but that continuous maximum discharge should be 105 amps. I did mention this to Novaic, and they did say that they were going to look at updating their documentation, stating that the recommended continuous discharge is 105 amps, but they have that surge ability to go higher for those big hills that you're trying to go up in your carts. So what do you guys think about this battery? It's definitely different. It's got a lot of different things that we're not used to seeing in a golf cart battery. They do a very good job on their website detailing all the different specs and features of this battery, so I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys to take a look for yourself. Tell me what you think. If I can get my hands on any discount code, I'll put that down in the description as well. If you've got any questions on this battery or kit, let me know and I'll see if I can get answers for you. They do have, I believe, 3 different kits available. This one is their higher end kit, but they do have lower grade kits as well. So take a look on their site, poke around, let me know what you think. And with that, I'm gonna let y'all go. Y'all stay safe, stay cool, and we'll catch up with you later.